Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, the reason why Nigeria will never make any significant progress under this present regime is not because Mallam Buhari has a low IQ. No, that is not the reason, because there are a lot of our countries with presidents with a low IQ. I mean, just look to the United States of America, for instance, or look to any of the countries within the Eastern Bloc of Europe. Then you would see that a president having a low IQ is not necessarily a reason why a country would not progress. No, the reason why Nigeria will not progress significantly under this Mallam Buhari and the Cabal regime is because Mallam Buhari is parochial in view, and his views on life, his outlook on life, his worldview are limited to tribe and religion. These are the real reasons why that country will never make any significant move forward under this present dispensation. So no, it is not because Mallam Buhari has a low IQ. That doesn't really matter. We all know that he does, but that's not the real reason. The real reason is because of his parochial views. So with that, guys, I bring you this. Lagos to get new airport in April 2020. So that's the headline. Lagos to get new airport in April 2020. So now you've heard my views and you've listened to the headline. So now let's marry those two divergent positions together. The Minister of Aviation, Hidi Sariki, said Wednesday that Lagos State, the nation's commercial nerve center, would get a new international airport before the Easter celebration next year. Sariki told State House correspondents at the end of the Federal Executive Council FEC meeting at the Presidential Villa Abuja that the federal government would deliver a new airport in Kano in December this year. He said President Muhammadu Buhari had approved counterpart funding for the delivery of two airports as schedules. He said, Mr. President has graciously approved counterpart funding to quickly finish the new Lagos airport and that of Kano. We will, by God's grace, complete Kano airport in December and the new Lagos airport with that of Enugu before Easter. According to the minister, it has become absolutely important to construct a new airport in Lagos because when Murtala Mohammed International Airport was first commissioned in 1980, it was designed to serve only 200,000 people, with the number of passengers using the airport now risen from 200,000 in 1980 to 8 million people today, with the number of infrastructures there already in a collapsed state. The plan for the overhaul of the Lagos airport was in two phases, and that after the delivery of the new airport, the old one will be redesigned and reconstructed in acknowledgement of the growing population of Lagos as well as the attraction that Lagos continues to generate. So now this is now the narrative for building a new airport in Lagos, and of course there are three new airports that they are suggesting, at least three major investments in airports in Nigeria, Kano, Lagos, and Enugu. So that's the list that this chap spoke about. So now let's marry the two positions that I started this video off with. As I said, the problem with Nigeria is not so much Mallam Buhari's low IQ, but his parochial views. So now, why am I saying that in a story that is speaking of developments within the Nigerian state? The reason why I am saying that in a story that is speaking to development within the Nigerian state is because if you look at Nigeria now, 40% of the commercial activities within the nation state goes on in Lagos. Lagos is the hub of activity, is the most traveled to destination in Africa, especially in Nigeria, by far and a distance in Nigeria. Lagos is like about 45% of the air travel to Nigeria. No, I think it's actually about 60%. I'm just quoting from memory now, but I think about 60% of the air travel to Nigeria goes to Lagos State, and then about 20% or so goes to Abuja, and then the rest is split amongst the rest rest of them. So now, with all of the traffic essentially of value coming to Nigeria, trafficking to Lagos State, where then would anybody with half a brain put the pump of the money in building infrastructures into? You would of course put the bulk of the money to build infrastructures into Lagos State, because Lagos State of course is the commercial hub of not only Nigeria but the whole of the West African sub-region, and indeed the whole of the African continent, because the Nigerian economy of course is the largest in Africa, and Lagos is at the very epicenter of all of that. So of course then you put a good chunk of pump of money into that, especially when it comes to infrastructure. But of course, Mallam Buhari, ever been one of a low wit and more importantly of a parochial view, cannot see beyond our tribe and religion. So him putting an international airport in Lagos is him gifting the Yorubas in his own mindset. But gifting the Yorubas is not really gifting the Yorubas, because Lagos really is Nigeria and Nigeria is Lagos, and the infrastructures in Lagos really will cascade to all of the entirities of the Nigerian state, because anything imported into Nigeria today passes through the Apapa seaport. Any person of business that is coming to do business in Nigeria goes to Lagos, and if he's going to Abuja first, if it's a government contract, he will go and get the contract, and the money to execute it, he will come and discuss it in Lagos. So everything and anything in that country comes to Lagos first. But of course, where are they looking to build the first airport? In Kano. Now, what goes on in Kano? Kano has a large population, yes, we know that. It's the second largest city in our state rather in Nigeria, apparently, according to their own census, which of course we all know is dubious anyway, but let's just go with their figures. According to their figures, Kano is the second largest state within the Nigerian country, within the Nigerian firmament. So now, that is a good reason to put a good airport there, and I accept that. But what sort of commercial activity goes on in Kano is the next question. What value does Kano immediately contribute to the national coffers that brings that urgency for it to have the first investment in terms of infrastructure? So now Kano has nothing apart from hide. Hide is HIDE, which is the skin of cows and goats, which they sell, I think, to Italy or something, where they for them to use to make shoes, etc. So that is the only thing that I know of in Kano that brings a dollar value. But everything in Lagos brings a dollar value. In fact, Lagos State even has oil. Lagos State has oil. In case you don't know, they've discovered oil in Lagos 4 or 5 years ago, thereabout. I think Fola something or the other is the name of the company that is now being given the license to explore that. But oil in commercial quantity is already in Lagos State. But what does Kano contribute to the Nigerian state is effectively what I'm asking, to justify it having the first investment in terms of that sort of important infrastructure, because Nigeria has a limited fund. You have to remember that. So we don't have infinite funds. Nigeria is a very wealthy country. You might want to know that in spite of all of the sufferings that you see on a daily basis in that country, Nigeria is actually one of the wealthier countries in the world. Nigeria is about 50 to 75% of the economy of Canada, and Canada is one of the top 20 richest countries in the world, certainly maybe even top 15. So Nigeria is a significantly wealthy country, and a concentration of that wealth, if not a good, at least 50% of it, or maybe even more, is concentrated in Lagos. So why then is the infrastructure that is needed to then take full advantage and make ease of business for this place that is the commercial hub of not only Nigeria but Africa? Why is the investment that should go into that place go into Kano first? And what value is Kano contributing to the Nigerian coffers to justify this decision to first site the first new airport in Kano and then subsequently put another one in Lagos? Yes, the time span is not that much. December to Easter is just a matter of months, but it's really the principle and the thinking in that really underpins my introductory comment that the problem of Nigeria is not so much that this guy lacks intelligence, because it doesn't even take intelligence to understand that the first investments should go to Lagos or Abuja. But when it comes to infrastructure, because Lagos is one of the 7 mega cities in the world, Lagos, Delhi, etc. I can't remember the rest of them. But when you're talking about mega cities, you're talking about cities where you have such a mass concentration of people as to be enough, to be sufficient to be a country in itself. And when it's a small land span as well, and Lagos is a fairly limited land span, then that really is a mega city. So Lagos is one of the 7 mega cities in the world where everybody is living on top of each other. And what is really needed is not only infrastructure, but smart infrastructure. So going to cite an airport in Badagry or wherever just to stretch the city out, it doesn't even take intelligence, because I just thought of that in the course of just making this speech. And I consider myself to be a clever person. I'm sure the next person will tell me that I am not. But you don't really need any level of smart to understand that this is what should happen. So if you then go cite it in Kano, then you have to then justify the reasons why that first investment is going to Kano. So what contribution Kano has to the nation state, we don't know, apart from hide, apart from leather. And leather really is a good income for the local people, but it doesn't add anything to the Nigerian state. What adds to the Nigerian state is really the Niger Delta region and the south side, which is where the oil is, and oil alone is really what contributes to the Nigerian state and nothing else. And the commercial hub of that is Lagos. But then of course they are citing the first airport in Kano. But now this small example speaks to a multiplicity of examples, because this is a consistent going on within this particular regime of Mallam Buhari and his cabal, where they feel that all of the spends, or a good significant of the spend, should go to the north. And that's fair enough if the north was a productive section or region of the country. But the northern regions is not a productive region of the country. They contribute nothing to the national coffers. What has Yobe got to contribute to anything? What has Bauchi got to contribute? Jigawa, all these states, all they do is sit in their offices, all the governors, all of these states, and await their federal allocation from the Niger Delta oil wealth, which Mallam Buhari continues to funnel to them to keep them quiet and to keep them on side. So is that keeping them quiet and keeping them on side that has now translated to this now infrastructure being cited in Kano State, where the need is most eminent and most imminent and most immediate in Lagos, and makes most commercial sense, and even makes even the basics of our common sense that this is where it should go. But then of course the parochial view, it's all about tribe and religion with the Mallamis. Conversations in the comments section. What says you? Parochial view or low weeds? Which one do you think burdens the Nigerian state more under the Mallam Buhari and the cabal regime? This is the conversation that I am inviting. But before you come have this chat, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come tell me what you are making of what are going in our country in the comment section. So I'll leave you here, join you in the comment section. But here I say peace.